Samuel L. Jackson is done staying quiet. At 76 years old, after decades in the spotlight, he's throwing off the last chains of Hollywood politics. He's not here to play the fake handshake game anymore. This isn't about another Marvel role, another press tour, or another smile for the camera moment. He's exposing the truth, naming names, and setting the record straight. The world has seen the polished version of him, but now, it's time to meet the man behind the curtain. In a moment that shocked fans and shook the industry, Samuel finally listed the actors he can't stand, and he wasn't vague. He didn't whisper. He didn't hint. He said it out loud. He lit the match, and Hollywood is still trying to figure out how to put out the fire. The story begins with what many consider the most painful fallout in modern film history, his long-buried feud with Spike Lee. It wasn't some casual disagreement. It wasn't a moment of clashing ideas. It was pride. It was betrayal. It was two icons going to war without ever raising their voices in public. And now, after all these years, Samuel has confirmed what fans only guessed. Spike Lee tops the list of people he no longer respects. Their journey together started in fire. Spike gave Sam some of his earliest roles. He put him in School Days, then cast him in Do the Right Thing as the unforgettable Mr. Senior Love Daddy. The partnership felt destined, a rising filmmaker and a hungry actor, both carving their names into the heart of cinema. But the moment that changed everything came during Malcolm X. Samuel had just exploded onto the scene with a raw, unforgettable performance in Jungle Fever. That performance didn't just earn praise, it shook the Cannes Film Festival so deeply, they created a new award on the spot just to honor him. That's how powerful his acting was. Naturally, when Spike began casting for Malcolm X, everyone expected Samuel to be there. Spike offered him the role of Baines, a pivotal character in the film. Samuel read for it. Nailed it. The part was his. And then silence. No follow-up, no excitement, no proper offer. What finally arrived was an insult, scale +10, the lowest rate the Screen Actors Guild allows. For a man who had just redefined what acting could feel like, it was more than just a low ball. It was disrespect. Samuel didn't take it. He walked away. But not quietly. And not kindly. Samuel didn't just turn down the role. He let it be known. You don't offer him crumbs and expect gratitude. Spike didn't take it well. He wasn't just disappointed, he was furious. And not because the deal fell through, but because Samuel had his agent deliver the news instead of calling him directly. That, to Spike, was personal. To Samuel, it was business, plain and simple. Spike expected loyalty. Samuel expected respect. That was the breaking point. Their relationship, once built on collaboration and cultural pride, cracked wide open. Behind the scenes, they stopped speaking. No more roles. No more shout-outs. Just silence. The fallout lasted over 2 decades. When Samuel finally opened up about it, he didn't sugarcoat anything. He laughed off the bitterness and exposed what really happened. Spike had been collecting 4 paychecks on Malcolm X, director, writer, producer, and actor, while offering Samuel the absolute minimum. Samuel didn't hold back. He said if Spike really believed in their bond, he should have offered better, or at least shared some of the film's profits. Instead, Spike offered scraps and expected him to smile. That wasn't going to happen. Samuel made one thing clear: Spike didn't make him. They helped each other rise. And when someone starts acting like they own your success, that's when it's time to walk away. And Samuel walked, right into a different kind of spotlight. Just as Malcolm X slipped away, something else happened. A moment of destiny. Samuel received the news that would change everything. He had won a special award at Cannes, created just for him, because his role in Jungle Fever had shaken the world. That moment confirmed what Samuel already believed: he didn't need to beg for anyone's approval. He had arrived. He accepted a role in White Sands instead, stepping into new territory while Spike kept moving on without him. 22 years passed with zero collaboration, and the silence between them said everything. Years later, they reunited quietly over dinner. Their wives had remained in touch. The eyes thawed just enough for them to work together again on Old Boy. But it wasn't the same. They smiled. They laughed. But the scars were still there. Then came the moment when Samuel went public, when he revealed his personal list of actors he couldn't stand. And without hesitation, he named Spike first. Not because of one film. Not because of one argument. But because of how loyalty, respect, and power collided and tore two legends apart. But Spike wasn't the only one on that list. Next on Samuel's list was someone the world thought was his creative soulmate, a man whose scripts he brought to life, whose films became classics because of his presence. But behind the scenes, the cracks had been forming for years. That man was Quentin Tarantino. On paper, they were the perfect match. Tarantino's sharp dialogue. Samuel's unmatched delivery. From Pulp Fiction to Django Unchained, their collaborations created moments that defined an era. Samuel became the voice, the fire, the heartbeat of Quentin's films. But that's exactly where the problem began. People started saying Samuel's flavor made the films great. The monologues. The rhythm. The attitude. Fans thought he was improvising, adding his own soul to the script, and sometimes they were right. One of the most iconic lines in Pulp Fiction. "Check out the big brain on Brett." Pure Samuel. And that didn't sit well with Quentin. He didn't like people thinking the magic came from the actor. Quentin saw his scripts as sacred. Word-for-word masterpieces. No ad-libs. No additions. Just execution. And when people credited Samuel with the style and swagger, it cut into Quentin's ego. It started as small tension. Quiet moments. Uneasy interviews. But the rift grew louder. When Pulp Fiction turned 30, both men shared a stage at a film festival. Fans expected a heartwarming reunion. What they got instead was icy energy and side glances. Quentin did what he always does, praised his writing, dissected his own work, made himself the center of the story. But Samuel wasn't playing along. He dropped a subtle jab that said everything without raising his voice. What separates Tarantino movies from everyone else's is how much time is spent saying who you are and how you feel. It was polite. Sharp. Lethal. The message? It wasn't the camera angles or the edits. It was him, his voice, his power, his presence, that gave those movies their pulse. Quentin didn't create the legend. He needed the legend. The final break came when Quentin took aim at Marvel. He said Marvel actors weren't real stars. That they were just placeholders wearing costumes. But Samuel, the face of Nick Fury for nearly 2 decades, fired back. Live on The View he said, "Chadwick Boseman is Black Panther. You can't refute that. And he's a movie star. No more protecting feelings. No more silent loyalty. Just facts." Samuel wasn't just defending Marvel. He was defending the impact of an entire generation. He was drawing a line in the sand, and leaving Quentin on the other side. But even that tension didn't sting as personally as what came next, the rivalry with Laurence Fishburne. On the surface, it may have looked like nothing. Two powerful black actors, often confused by the media, occasionally mentioned in the same breath. But for Samuel, the problem ran much deeper. It started with Pulp Fiction. That legendary role, Jules Winfield, wasn't originally his. Quentin first offered it to Laurence. Fishburne turned it down. Years later, in an interview, he casually admitted it with a smug undertone, saying he stayed out the way and contributed to Samuel's success. That word, contributed, hit like a slap. Samuel didn't see Jules as some leftover part. He saw it as the role that helped him reshape his life and career. He didn't borrow the spotlight. He became the spotlight. And now, Fishburne wanted to take partial credit for that. For simply walking away? It didn't stop there. One of the most viral moments in Samuel's public life happened when a reporter, live on air, confused him with Laurence Fishburne. The moment became internet history. Samuel snapped, with good reason. "I'm not Laurence Fishburne," he said, eyes locked on the camera. "We don't all look alike. You are busted." What looked like a funny outburst to some was really years of frustration boiling over. The constant comparisons. The casual disrespect. The unspoken grudge. It wasn't just a case of mistaken identity. It was a reminder of a rivalry Samuel never asked for, one that came with shadows and slights he never forgot. He never addressed it with Laurence. No sit down. No apology. No closure. Just distance. Cold, unspoken tension that lived in interviews, on red carpets, in the way they avoided each other's names. For Samuel, it wasn't about ego. It was about never letting someone take credit for a legacy he bled for. And just when you think the list couldn't get more powerful, he added a name that no one expected. That name was George Lucas. To the world, it looked like a dream come true. Samuel joining the Star Wars universe as Mace Windu, a Jedi Master with unmatched power, wisdom, and that iconic purple lightsaber. But behind the lights, the robes, and the glory, something darker was happening. Samuel had to fight just to be seen. He once admitted he practically begged for a role, even said he'd be happy playing a faceless stormtrooper. He didn't ask for power, for lines, for prestige. Just a chance. George Lucas gave him more than that. He gave him a Jedi. But the dream had a price. Years later, the young actor who played Boba Fett, Daniel Logan, dropped a quiet bomb in an interview. Originally, Revenge of the Sith had planned for Boba Fett to return and kill Mace Windu. A perfect revenge arc. The son avenges the father. It was storyboarded, scripted, and on the schedule. Until it wasn't. According to Logan, it was Samuel who shut it down. He reportedly went to George Lucas and said, "I don't think some punk kid should be able to kill a Jedi Council member." Just like that, the story was erased. The arc disappeared. Daniel never got the call back. His shot at Star Wars history? Gone. For Samuel, it may have been about protecting the image of a Jedi. But for Daniel, it was the moment his career momentum ended. And Samuel? He never mentioned it. Never apologized. Never clarified. Just silence. That silence is why George Lucas ended up on the list. Because for Samuel, it wasn't just about lightsabers. It was about how power moves behind the scenes, how stories change with a single whisper in the right ear. One man's legacy protected, while another's future vanished. And just when Hollywood thought that was the end, Samuel added one more name. A name that shocked everyone, because the feud had been hiding in plain sight for decades. That name was Denzel Washington. To the public, it seemed like mutual respect. Two icons, two legends, each with decades of success behind them. But behind those red carpet smiles and polite nods was a silent, unspoken rivalry, one that shaped both of their careers in completely opposite ways. They never worked together. Not once. In over 30 years, despite being two of the most powerful black actors in Hollywood, they never shared the screen. And that wasn't a coincidence. That was a choice. Their differences ran deeper than casting. Denzel built his empire on prestige, awards, and deeply emotional roles. He disappeared into characters, chased the kinds of performances that win Oscars and move critics. He was method, serious, and selective. Every role felt like a carefully chosen piece of legacy. Samuel did the opposite. He embraced power, culture, voice. He didn't chase validation from critics or golden statues. He chased impact, the kind of impact that lives in franchises, in fan culture, in billion-dollar box office records. He made his name in blockbusters, and never looked back. Then came the moment that defined the divide, Training Day. Samuel wanted the role. He read for it. Believed he could bring something raw, real, unforgettable. But the part went to Denzel. The rest is history. Denzel's performance earned him his second Oscar and proved, once again, that when it comes to heavy drama, Hollywood still placed him on top. But Samuel didn't crumble. He pivoted. He turned to Marvel, Star Wars, massive franchises, the kind of roles that didn't win awards, but built empires. While Denzel collected trophies, Samuel became the highest-grossing actor in film history. Over $27 billion at the box office. No actor had ever done that. But the tension remained. Because Samuel saw what Hollywood never said out loud, they didn't want these two titans together. Not because of conflict, but because their energy was too big, too different, too powerful to exist in the same space. It wasn't just about roles. It was about control. Denzel avoided green screens. Samuel thrived in them. Denzel never stepped into a franchise. Samuel helped build them. They didn't compete directly, they built two separate kingdoms. And that separation wasn't just practical. It was personal. Because every time the world asked, "Why haven't they worked together?" the answer came in silence. A silence that said more than words ever could. Samuel never said Denzel's name in anger. But the energy spoke for itself. It wasn't hate. It was distance. Deep, intentional distance. They were never seen laughing together on set. Never caught in candid moments. Just careful acknowledgement, as if both men knew the system only had room for one black king at a time, and they refused to bow to each other. The rivalry wasn't about acting skills. It wasn't about box office numbers or awards. It was about identity. Samuel built his name by refusing to disappear into roles. He brought himself into every character, loud, commanding, unforgettable. Denzel, by contrast, stripped himself away. He became the character. Silent. Methodical. Controlled. Hollywood needed both, but never at once. Samuel once said, "You don't need to write black for me. I am black. Just give me the lines. I'll handle the rest." That statement was more than pride. It was a challenge. A declaration that he didn't need permission to be powerful. He didn't need a director's blessing to shine. And maybe that's why, after all these years, he's finally done with the games. No more pretending. No more fake love. Just raw honesty. He's called out the people who tried to shrink his light. The people who lowballed him, disrespected him, and tried to rewrite his role in their stories. Whether it was Spike asking for loyalty without respect, Quentin trying to own the rhythm of his voice, Fishburne subtly claiming credit, Lucas playing gatekeeper, or Denzel existing as a quiet rival in the same space, Samuel remembered it all. Now he's speaking. He's not doing it for headlines. He's not chasing controversy. He's clearing the air, for once and for all. After a lifetime in the spotlight, he's earned the right to say what no one else will. Because Samuel L. Jackson doesn't care about who gets uncomfortable anymore. He's not playing the Hollywood game. He's burning the board.